The Echo Ridge case. The 2025 contact the government tried to silence. Hello listeners, welcome to another episode of the Unknown Mysteries. I'm your host, and today we're exploring one of the most intriguing and unsettling cases of possible extraterrestrial contact in recent years. A story that took place in a small town called Echo Ridge, Montana, in March 2025. Echo Ridge was just another American small town, a quiet place where everyone knew each other by name, where the biggest thrills came from high school football games, until the night of March 14, 2025, when the sky opened up and nothing would ever be the same, the night that changed everything. It was an ordinary night in Echo Ridge. Winter was beginning to retreat, the snow on the mountains melting into streams. George Lamar was on his porch, gazing at the starry sky as he had done for decades. It was like the sky had been cut by invisible scissors, he would later recall. It made no noise, just light. 3 red dots that rotated slowly, as if they were studying us, measuring our reactions, deciding our fate. Meanwhile, at the local weather station, meteorologist Mark Hines was experiencing something equally unusual. All the equipment began displaying anomalous readings. The barometer oscillated violently. The thermometers recorded impossible temperature fluctuations. When he looked outside, he saw them. 3 red dots forming a perfect equilateral triangle. They weren't blinking like aircraft lights. They seemed aware, watching. But perhaps the most dramatic encounter that night happened on Highway 87, where local police officer Brenda Carlisle was on routine patrol. Hovering less than 20 meters from the ground was an object about 15 meters in diameter. It emitted a pulsating blue light. It looked almost liquid, like mercury suspended in air. Her car engine stopped. Radio dead. Even her phone had no battery. Complete silence, except for her own heartbeat. Other witnesses across Echo Ridge, other residents were witnessing phenomena that would forever change their understanding of reality. 17-year-old Kayla Mendez captured 47 seconds of footage on her phone. The video would later become crucial evidence, despite systematic attempts to remove it from the internet. It was impossible to explain, Kayla would say later. Like the sky was breaking into pieces, the lights were so strong but didn't hurt your eyes, and there was this hum, very low, that you felt more than heard. It wasn't just what I saw. It was like something reached inside my mind and rearranged everything I thought I knew. At the Echo Ridge Amateur Observatory, retired physics professor Raymond Chune's equipment recorded something particularly disturbing. Between 9:47 and 9:49 p.m., none of his celestial cameras captured any images, just black screens, as if all lenses had been covered simultaneously. The morning after, Echo Ridge awoke under a perfectly blue sky on March 15th. But for those who had witnessed the previous night's events, the world had subtly shifted on its axis. By 8:17 a.m., the first black SUV appeared on Main Street. By noon, 17 identical vehicles were parked throughout Echo Ridge. Men and women in dark suits moved with military precision, systematically approaching every witness. We received reports of an experimental weather balloon that may have fallen in this region, said the man who seemed to lead the group. Did you notice anything unusual last night? His words were casual, but his gaze was penetrating, clinical. At the police station, Officer Brenda Carlisle found 2 agents waiting at her desk. The conversation that followed was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. They never explicitly denied what Brenda saw, but subtly offered alternative explanations. Exhaustion, a possible concussion from a previous undiagnosed incident, rare atmospheric phenomena that can affect human perception, the systematic silencing. In the 48 hours that followed, Echo Ridge was the scene of a coordinated and meticulous operation. The official visitors, who never clearly identified themselves as FBI, CIA, NSA, or any other specific agency, seemed to be everywhere. Their presence transformed the once friendly town into a place of whispers and sidelong glances. The agents moved with chilling efficiency, as if following a well-rehearsed protocol. Those who studied their methods later would note the precision of their psychological tactics, the subtle isolation of key witnesses, the gentle but persistent reframing of memories, the implied threats couched in bureaucratic language. Robert Turner, editor-in-chief of the local Gazette for 15 years, resigned the following day. His final editorial, never published but later recovered from a backup server, contained a passionate plea for transparency and a warning that forces beyond our government were controlling the narrative. The inexplicable consequences. As days turned into weeks, Echo Ridge appeared to return to normal, but the town carried invisible scars. Church attendance tripled. Alcohol consumption rose by 60%. The library reported unprecedented interest in books about astronomy, quantum physics, and ancient religious texts. Those who had direct exposure to the phenomena experienced dramatic changes. A neuroscientist who later studied brain scans from 6 witnesses described the changes as evolutionary leaps that should take thousands of generations, not days. George Lamar's garden began producing vegetables at an accelerated rate. Plants displayed more vibrant colors. George himself, who had suffered from arthritis for years, reported that his pain had diminished considerably. Mark Hines, the meteorologist, became obsessed with numerical sequences he repeatedly saw in his dreams. He developed what he called a translation matrix for mathematical patterns he claimed originated from beyond our dimensional understanding. 23 days after the initial incident, on April 6, 2025, the lights returned. This time, they appeared precisely at sunset, as if deliberately choosing a time when they would be visible to the maximum number of witnesses. The formation was different. A complex geometric shape that seemed to fold in upon itself, defying the laws of perspective. Most notable was the reaction of some residents. As if obeying a silent call, 12 people left their homes simultaneously and headed to the same point, a clearing in the forest north of town. Security footage showed these individuals walking with the same cadence, their faces bearing identical expressions of serene certainty. What happened in that clearing remains controversial. None of the 12 participants presents the same version of events. Some speak of a light that descended from the sky. Others insist that nothing physical appeared. Some report telepathic conversations with non-human intelligences. Others describe only an overwhelming sensation of peace and understanding. But they all agree on one point. When they returned home, hours later, something had changed. The conspiracy of silence. The official response to the second incident was even faster and more forceful than to the first. Before dawn on April 7th, Echo Ridge was effectively isolated from the outside world. A public health emergency was declared. An alleged gas leak that required temporary evacuation and assessment. Roads were blockaded. Cell service and internet connectivity disappeared. Military helicopters established a no-fly zone with suspicious speed. The 12 participants in the clearing encounter were subjected to extensive preventive medical examinations. All subsequently reported sessions that included not only physical assessments, but also prolonged psychological interviews and what appeared to be advanced cognitive tests. Some received veiled offers, unexpected promotions, scholarships for children, miraculous solutions to financial problems. Others faced darker insinuations about pending tax investigations or national security laws. The message was consistent. Forget what you saw, accept the official explanation. Move on with your life. The leak, The story of Echo Ridge could have ended there. Another alleged encounter with the inexplicable, efficiently neutralized and relegated to the margins of credibility. But as is often the case, the very thoroughness of the cover-up ultimately ensured its failure. Someone on the inside could not reconcile their conscience with the systematic erasure of truth. Among the leaked materials were Kayla Mendez's original video, now analyzed by experts who confirmed its authenticity, records from the weather station showing electromagnetic anomalies, partially censored medical reports of the 12 participants in the second encounter, a highly classified document detailing Operation Silent Echo, the containment protocol applied to the town, photographs of marks on the ground in the clearing, forming complex geometric patterns. A collective statement from 6 witnesses concluded with words that would be quoted in underground discussions worldwide. The stars have reached down to touch us. The question is not whether we are ready. It's whether we are brave enough to reach back. The debate continues. The official reaction to the leak followed the predictable pattern. The documents were declared sophisticated forgeries. The signatories of the collective statement suddenly changed their versions, some claiming confusion, others admitting participation in a joke that went too far. What they couldn't control was the resonance the story found with the public. Something about the Echo Ridge case struck a chord that previous contact narratives hadn't. #EchoRidgeTruth became the most used hashtag globally for nearly 2 weeks. The Echo Ridge case rekindled theories about secret government programs dedicated to the reverse engineering of non-terrestrial technology. Former military officials began coming forward with corroborating accounts of similar containment operations dating back decades. The psychological impact extended far beyond Echo Ridge. Therapists across the country reported an uptick in patients, describing dreams matching the exact patterns of the Echo Ridge phenomena. Neurologists documented unusual brain activation patterns in subjects thousands of miles from Montana. The 12 who experienced direct contact developed a strange synchronicity, finishing each other's sentences, arriving at locations simultaneously without planning, demonstrating identical physiological responses to stimuli, despite being tested separately. The Echo Ridge case is not just about a possible extraterrestrial contact. It's about how we choose to deal with the unknown, about who controls the narrative of what is real, about what happens when the truth is considered too dangerous to be shared. As we stand at this threshold between ignorance and revelation, each of us must ask, what other truths lie hidden in plain sight? What other realities exist just beyond the veil of our accepted understanding? The truth is out there, and the more eyes watching, the harder it becomes to keep us in the dark. Join us next week as we continue to explore the Echo Ridge story with never-before-seen footage and testimony from a government insider who's finally ready to speak.